Mem Chesem Beis. Upasku Anshe Amana. The Mishnah said that Mishabala Sanhedrin, Mishamesan Levim Rishonim, Mishacharav Beis Hamikdash, Pasku Anshe Amana. Amar Bitzvah Elu Bnei Adam Shein Ma'aminim B'Kadosh Baruch Hu D'Tanya Rabbi Lazar Agadol Omer Kol Misheyesh Palo Pas Besalo Ve'Omar Malo Ma'ochel Ma'achreinu Ela Mikane Amana. These are people who believe in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's Anshe Amana. Somebody who has bread in his basket today. So if you don't have bread, seemingly, if you ask, where's my bread, that's okay. But if you have bread today, and you say, what am I going to eat tomorrow? That's Kan Ne'amana. Don't worry, just like you have bread today, you'll have bread tomorrow. V'hainu de'amar Rabbi Lazar, mai dechtiv ki mi bazli yom katnus, mi garm la tzadikim sheyizbaz be'shulchan la'asi lavo. What or who caused that Tzadikim's plate will be, or table will be depleted in the next world? Says the Gemara, katnus shoya b'hen shelo aminu b'Kadosh Baruch Hu. It was the katnus that they had that they didn't believe in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Now, it doesn't mean that the tzaddikim didn't believe in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, but that they didn't believe that everything was controlled by HaKadosh Baruch Hu, so that limited their schar, that lessened their schar in the next world. Rav Amar Elu Katne B'nei Risha Yisrael. These are the children of the B'nei Risha Yisrael, the children who actually died while they were young. So they were able to be mekatin, they were able to go ahead and lessen the punishment of their parents. They were able to deplete the punishment of their parents. How? You already killed us. This is what the children are saying to God. You killed us, and that was punishment for our parents. So at least now do not go ahead and punish them anymore in the next world. Amar Rabbi Lazar bar Yevarchia. If it wasn't for the tefillah of David, then all of Yisrael would have been mochrei ravav. As Rashi says, ravav is something disgusting, and you only go ahead and you sell it and deal with it if you're poor. So all Bnei Yisrael would have been poor and dealing with disgusting things if it wasn't for him davening out to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, as Rashi explains and says, please let us have some osher, let us have some wealth, so that the goyim don't make fun of us and that the goyim don't think that we're nothing, and it's not, as Rashi seems to imply, it's not a chil Hashem. For Amar Rabbi Bar Yevarchia, if it wasn't for the tefillah of Chabakuk, then two Talmidei Chachamim would have been sharing one talis. They would have been very poor, and they would have been sharing one talis. As I know, rabbis are not rich, but at least now they don't have to share one talis. Why? Shenemar Hashem Shamati Shemacha Yereti Hashem Palacha Bekerev Shanim Chayehu Al Tikra Bekerev Shanim Ela Bekrov Shnayim. So it used to be that two would have to share one. He's saying after Chabakuk Davin, so now two did no longer needed to share one talis between the two of them. From Rabbi Bar Yevarchia, if two Talmidei Chacham are walking in the derech and they're not talking in Torah, so it's right that they should be burnt with fire. Why? So we see that they were walking and they were speaking, and there was a rechav eish time, a dibor. The reason that there was dibor, that's why there was a rechav eish, and it didn't consume them. Halaka dibor roi l'safran l'sarif, ruin l'sarif. If they would have been walking and they wouldn't have been talking in Torah, then the eish which was with them would have eaten them up alive.
Daniel, right?
That pasuk is in Menachem, Menachem Beis. Ram Rabbi Bar Yevarchia. Oh, if two Talmidei Chacham are in the same town and they don't get along in halacha, one's going to die and one's going to have to go to Gola. Seemingly one's going to kill the other one b'shogeg, quote unquote. Because we see by the Ir Miklat that you have to run the Rotzeach if you kill this friend without knowing. It doesn't mean literally, obviously over there the Pashup Shah is that he didn't know, or that it was b'shogeg. But das also means Torah. Nidmu imi b'bli das, and we see over there that something to do with das, with Torah, is going to cause the guy to run. And the Gemara is understanding that when one kills the other one b'shogeg because they don't get along with each other, so then he's going to have to run to the Miklat. Amar Yehuda Breder Rav Chia. Kol Talmid Chacham ha'osik b'Torah mitocha dechak tfilaso nishmas. Anytime a Chacham who deals with Torah, learns Torah out of dechak, he doesn't have a lot of money, and he pushes himself to learn Torah, then his tefillah will be listened to. We're going to listen to the crying out when you're poor. It says afterwards, Kosh Baruch Hu is going to give you some bread and some water, even though he's not giving a lot of bread and a lot of water. Lamaisa, we see over here that after calling out to God, from learning Torah, so Kosh Baruch Hu will at least give you some food to eat and some drink. If somebody learns Torah, so Kosh Baruch Hu is going to be masbiyah, he's going to make him full with the glory of the Shechina. Ravacha Bar Chanina Amar Af Ein HaPargo Ninam Befanav. The mechitza between him and the Kadosh Baruch Hu will not be close. Shenemar V'lo Yikanef Od Morecha. Zak the Gemara Rashba Gomer B'Shum Yeshua Yom Shachar Beis HaMikdash. There's no bracha. There's only klal Amarova B'Chayom V'Yom Meruba Chilosim Mishach Haber. Every day has more klal than the next day. Shenemar B'Boker Tomar Mi'itein Erev Tomar Mi'itein Boker. Every morning you're going to say when is night coming, and every night you're going to say when is morning coming. Says the Gemara Hi Boker. At nighttime, when you say, hopefully the morning's going to come soon, so what morning is that talking about? If everything is really so bad, so then you're not going to daven for tomorrow, because if everything gets worse every day, then tomorrow's only going to be worse than today is. So what must it mean when it says that you're going to be so bad, you're going to daven tonight for tomorrow? If you're not going to daven for tomorrow for Boker, you're going to daven for today's Boker. You're going to say, hopefully, the tomorrow should be at least like today, and it shouldn't be any worse than today. So the Gemara says, fascinating, in the Gemara says, if the klala gets worse, if the curse gets worse every day, so how's the world still standing in 5776? The klala has been going on for many years since the destruction of the Beis HaMikdash. Why are we still around? Kedusha de Sidra Vayehesh Meiraba Dagarata. Beautiful. Because we keep saying the Kedusha de Sidra. What's that? Uval Etzion. Make sure to have kavanah when you say Uval Etzion. Rashi explains that was the way that they learned every single day. There's learning of the Torah in the beginning of Uval Etzion. So that was the way to guarantee that everybody learned every day by saying Uval Etzion. That's what keeps the world going. And the Kedusha and the Kaddish, which we say Yehesh Meiraba, as Rashi explains at the end of the Drush on Shabbos. We don't do this by the end of the Drush on Shabbos. They would have a Kaddish with Yehesh Meiraba, and that Yehesh Meiraba would keep the world going. Beautiful. Shenamar Eretz Afta Kmo Ofel. Some of us, the Eretz is dark like the darkness of death. V'lo Sidarim, and there's no Sidarim. Hayesh Sidarim, if there are Sidarim, Seder, as we said here, Kedusha de Sidra. If there's Kaddish, Yehesh Meiraba, and there's Kedusha de Sidra Valatzion, Tofia Me Ofel, then we emerge from the darkness. V'lo Ital the Brach of Ital Tam Peros. With the destruction of the Beis HaMikdash, you think you've tasted a good fruit, you ain't tasted nothing. And the smells are nothing like they used to be. Tanya Reb Shimon Melazar Omer. Tahara, when people stop keeping Tum and Tahara, which you mentioned yesterday, Batla Tam Bereach, then the Tam and the Reach of the fruits went away. Meiser Bitel Shuman Dagan. That when they stopped keeping Shumas and Meiser, they stopped taking off Meiser, so then the Shuman of the Dagan was gone, the fat of the grain. Rav Huna Ashkach Tumrasa Dechinenusa. So Rav Huna found a creamy fat date. Shakla Karcha Besudre. He went and he folded it in his handkerchief. Asa Rabba Berei, Rabba, his son, Rav Huna's son, came to him and said, Amarle Morchina Recha Dechinu Nisa. He said to him, I smell the beautiful smell of that date. Amarle, so Rav Huna said to his son Rabba, Beni Tara Yesh Becha. You must be a tahor man, because again, even at times when there was tahor and tumah, so if you were a tahor person, you were able to smell the special smell of the fruit. Yayev Ni'aleh. So he gave it to him because he was able to smell the beautiful smell. So Rav Huna gave his son Rabba the fruit. Adahachi Asa Abba Brei. Then Rabba's son Abba came. Shakla Yav Ni'aleh. And Rabba gave the date to his son. The date that he got from his father, he gave to his son. Says Rav Huna, Amarle Beni Samachta Es Libi Kisa Et Shinai. You made me happy and hit me in the face at the same time. Hit me in my teeth. You made me happy by me seeing that you're tahor and you're able to smell the smell of the date. You made me upset because Lamaisa, I didn't want your grandson, I didn't want my grandson, your son to have it. I wanted you to enjoy the date. Hainu Damar Inshi, this is what people say, Rachme da Abba B'nei, that a father likes a son, but Rachma de B'nei Ab'nei de Havulei. But a son likes a son more than he likes his father. Not that he doesn't like his father, but his son, if he had to choose between his son and his father, he would choose his son. Rav Acha bar Yaakov, Itfal baby Rav Yaakov bar Barse. We see over here Rav Acha bar Yaakov raised his grandson, Ki God Dalam Arle. So when he got older, so Rav Acha asked his grandson, Ashkin Maya, give me water. Amar Lo Lav Brich Ana. So he said to him, I can't give you water, I don't want to give you water, and I don't have to give you water because I'm your grandson and I'm not your son. It happens to be that we paskin that kibbud avim is for a grandfather also. But over here, mitzad Allah, he seems to be saying that, okay, mitzad the din, so the grandson does not have to go ahead and honor the grandfather. Behind inshi, Rabbi, you could raise me, you can raise me up in your house, bar techana. But at the end of the day, if you ask me to do something, I'm going to say to you, sorry man, you ain't my father, I'm not taking care of you. Zak the Mishnah. The Mishnah is, this Mishnah was in the period of the Chorban Bayis Sheni, around the time of the second destruction of the Beis Hamikdash. Bepumu shel Asaf Sinos, who's that? Vespasian. In the Chayil, at the time that Vespasian was besieging the city, so the Chazal made a Gzeira on the wreath of a Chasan and on the Eris. We'll see what the wreath of a Chasan is. But Pumo shal Titus, at the time that Titus came, which was later, Gazral Ataros Kalos. They didn't let the Kalos wear these Ataros either. Shalu Yomar Espino, Ardem Espino Yavanis, and you can't teach your son Greek. But Pumo Sa'acharon, which was still Titus, but right before he destroyed the Beis Hamikdash, Gazu Shalo Teitze Akala Be'apirion B'toch Ha'ir. They didn't let the Kala go in the Apirion, as Rashi explained, it's the fancy chuppah. So they won't let her take the fancy chuppah B'toch Ha'ir. For Rabotenu Tiush Teitze Kala Be'apirion B'toch Ha'ir. Later, the rabbis undid this gezerah, answering the woman from going in the Apirion, and they let them go. Mishameis Rabbi Meir Batlu Moshli Mashlim. When Rabbi Meir died, so the people that the rabbis were able to teach with parables ceased to exist. Mishamei Ben Azai Batlu Hashak Nanim, as Rashi explains, the people that were shoked al date, but the midrash people that just wanted to always be in the base midrash learning, people learn, but not the same hasmada. Mishamei Ben Zoma Batlu Hadarshanim, I beg to differ, but Mishamei Ben Zoma, they say that there are no good drashas anymore, but it doesn't mean drashas. He says over here in Rashi that it means he was a baki betame hamikros. As we say, at Shadrasha ben Zoma, not that Ben Zoma gave a drasha, at Shadarsha ben Zoma, he went ahead and he said that was in the Haggadah. Says the Gemara.
How could the rabbis reverse the Greek Asura? I don't understand.
I'm sorry?
Well, I don't know whether like it says during Titus' campaign,
the rabbis stopped the Jews from doing the things. The rabbis stopped the Jews from doing the things. Then they undid the gezerah that the rabbis did by saying, you can know, during the times of Titus, when things were getting really bad, the rabbis started doing all these gezerahs. Why exactly, one can ask. Either because they wanted to not cause problems with the army, seemingly, or they just didn't, or it was one of these gezerahs like music, where you just couldn't have simcha at the time, but the rabbis made all the gezerahs, and then the one gezerah with a woman going out under this special canopy, they eventually undid that gezerah. But the other ones were all gezerahs that the rabbis did. Mishemeis Rabbi Akiva batal kavod haTorah. Rabbi Akiva died, the real kavod haTorah was gone. Mishemeis Rabbi Chanina Mendoza balu anshe ma'aser, the real anshe ma'aser, the real good guys were gone. Mishemeis Rabbi Yossi Katanta pasku chasidim, the real chasidim. Not that chasidim say are not real, but when we say chasid, like the Mesilas Yesharim, chasid is not long pious and the long beard and the long coat. Chassid is somebody that's a chassid, it's pious, close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Of course, there are many chassidim that are real chassidim, and there are many non-chassidim that are also chassidim. Lama nikra shmo katanta. Why is the name katanta? Shei katanta shel chassidim. Even though he was a great man, he was still the lowest of the chassidim. Mishmei Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai Padel Ziva Chachma, the special glory of Chachma. Mishmei Rabbi Gamliel Hazakin. But the kavod haTorah, the real kavod haTorah, mesa tara precious, also the real tara and tuma and real precious from pleasures in the world, separating from pleasures, was also gone. Mishmei Bishmael ben Pabi, but la ziv hakahuna, the real ziv hakahuna was gone. Mishmei Rebbe batel anava v'yiras chet. When Rebbe died, so the real anava, somebody being not haughty, somebody being very calm and an anav. The Yiras Chet and real fear of sin, so that was gone with Rabbi. Zak the Gemara, and it's an interesting discussion if this is really the Gemara, it's a continuation of the Mishnah. For our purposes, it doesn't really matter. Tana Rabbanan. Rav Pinchas ben Yair Omer, Mishachar Beis Hamikdash Boshu Chaverim Nechorin V'Chaf Rosham. At the time the Beis Hamikdash was destroyed, after it was destroyed, so the Talmidei Chachamim and the people who had Yichus were very embarrassed, and they would hide their faces, because after all, the people who were Mamzerim, as Rashi says, the Hashirim, those were the ones who were in charge. V'nidladlu anshe ma'aseh, and the people who were anshe ma'aseh, the good people, were very poor. V'gavru bali zora bali lashon. Whoever had a lot of strength and a lot of lashon hara, they took over. Ve'ein doresh, and there was nobody that was doresh liYisrael. Ve'ein mevakesh, there was nobody that was begging rachman from Kadosh Baruch Hu for them. Ve'ein shoal ami lanu lisharn al v'yishmaim. Nobody was asking, where's God? How do we get God to help us? And only God can help us. Rabbi Eliezer Agadol Omer b'yom shechar beis hamikdash sharu chachimya l'meheve kesafriya. The Chaim began to be like Svar, like Safria, who are those are people that teach the Ketanim in school. Those are good people, but they're not quite like the Chachamim. Everybody lost a level. Safria kechazanya. Safria started to be like Chazanim. Chazanya k'amad ara. The Chazanim started to be like the Amad Ara, the Amma Arts, the Amma Ara, Azla. As the Misor Hashash changes, Minavla, the Amarts became really Menuvalim. Nobody asked for God to interfere and to help. Be'ikvas de Meshicha sounds very much like today. In the Ikvas Meshicha, hurry up, we're almost done with the Masechta. Be'ikvas Meshicha, Chutzpah Yaska, Chutzpah will increase. V'yoker Yamir, and the cost will soar. Hagefen Titein Piria, V'hayayin B'yoker. The gefen will give its fruit, and yet yayin will be very expensive. Umalchus tehapech leminus. The government will be filled with heresy. V'yein tochachas. Nobody's going to be able to give tochacha, because when they give tochacha, the people are going to say to them, you ain't any better than us. Beis vadiel is nus. The gathering places of the chachamim will be places of znus. V'hagalil yacharav. The galil in Eretz Yisrael will be destroyed. V'hagavlon yashum, and the gavlon will be desolate. The people on the borders of Eretz Yisrael, seemingly the Jews, Yisovu me'ir le'ir v'lo yechonenu. They're going to go from city to city. They're going to wander, and they're going to have nowhere to be helped. V'chachmo sofrim tistach, and the chachma of the Talmidei Chachamim tisrach will decay. Hard to see. V'yirei chet yimasu, and those that fear chet will be despised. V'ha'emes tehei nerderes, and truth will be absent. Na'arim p'nei zekenim yalbinu, the youngsters will embarrass the old people. Zekenim yamdu mipnei ketanim, the old people will stand up on the bus for the young people. Ben menuvalav, a son will menuval his father. Bas kama be'ama, a bas will stand up against her mother. Be'ima. Kala bechamosa, a kala will stand up against her mother-in-law. Oyev ish anshe beso, people in your house will be your worst enemies. Pnei hador k'bnei achelev, the face of the generation will be like the face of a kelev. Haben eino misbayish me'aviv, a son will not be embarrassed from his father. V'amal yishon lishon al avinu shebashamayim. Sounds very eerily like the days today. Zak the Gemara, or what's already been the Gemara. Amarav, when we spoke about the atara, that they couldn't make this atara, so what kind of atara couldn't they make for the chasanim and seemingly for the kala? So what kind of atara? Well, this is going on before the iris. So this one is actually going on.
For the chasan.
This is seemingly going on the one for the chasan. Right? Ataras kalos. So tete kalam ber pirion. This is going on the ataras chasanim seemingly. But again, what does it say? Amarav lo shanu ela shel melech v'gafris. The only type of atara crown that a chasan couldn't wear, that the rabbis were gozer at the time of the Beis Hamikdash destruction, was one made out of melech, as Rashi explains. It was evanim, it was stones made out of salt, v'gafris, with some beautiful sulfur on it, of al shahadas v'shel vered mutter. But this atara of myrtle and rose was okay. Shmuel amar af shel hadas v'shel vered aser. Even the myrtle and rose ones were aser. Shel kanim v'shel chelas mutter. From reeds and from other plants is mutter. V'levi amar af shel kanim v'shel chelas aser. All types of ataras were aser. V'cheintani levi b'masnise af shel kanim v'shel chelas aser. V'yala eris. They were gozer on the eris. What's an eris? My eris. Amar belazar. Tavla dechad puma. It was a bell with one clapper on it, which they use at weddings. Okay, we have fancy music today. Back then they had a bell with one clapper. Rabbi barafuna avidle libre tanbura. So Rabbi, for his son's wedding, made a tambourine. Asa avu atabre. So Rabbi's father broke the tambourine. Amarle, and he said, Michla betavla dechat puma. Maybe the tambourine mitzad alach is okay, but people are going to confuse the sound with the thing that's not okay, the bell with one clapper. Zil avidle apuma dechatzva. Oh, apuma de kaviza. You know what you can do if you want to make a drum? You got to take some skin and put it on top of an urn, or put it on top of a pitcher, like we have drums, and you can go ahead and bang the drums. Okay, we're almost done with the Masechta. Let's go. Bepulmus shel Titus gozer al ataras kalos. In the pulmus of Titus, so they were gozer on the ataras of the kalos. My ataras kalos. What were these ataros, these crowns of the kalos made of? Amar Rabba bar Barchana Amar Rabbi Yochanan ir shel zahav. As Rashi explains, it was a crown of gold, and it was sketched with seemingly Yerushalayim shel zahav. Tana melchei to ataras kalos ir shel zahav. About SOTAH kipa shel milas. They couldn't make this gold crown for a kala at the time of the destruction, but as Rashi explains, they were able to make her this type of kova shel semer lavan, this type of white wool. Zok the Gemara, Tana, af al chupas chasanim gazru. Even on the chupas of the chasanim, they were gozer. My chupas chasanim, Zehoris hamus havos. This type of talis that they would use for a chuppah, which had a lot of beautiful zahav in it. So they went ahead and they were not allowed to use that anymore. They were able to make another chuppah. It wasn't made out of gold, it was made out of wood. And then they can go ahead and they could be told about anything that they want. Interesting, Rashi says, Kamosha Anu Osin. Sounds like the chuppahs, I don't know. It sounds like the chuppahs at the time of Rashi were actually made out of wood. You can't teach your son Greek. Tana Rabbanan. When the Malchi Beis Chashmonaim were arguing with each other, they were fighting with each other. Horkenes was outside of Yerushalayim. Aristoblus and Aristoblus was inside. So what happened? The people in the city needed to have korbanos every day for the korban tamid. So they would take money, put it into a basket, put it over the wall, and then the people outside would take the animal, put it in the basket, and put it over the wall. There was one zaken who knew the Chachma Yavanis, he knew Greek, so he told them very carefully in Yavanis, and he told the people seemingly outside the city, because he was inside Yerushalayim, so he sent a message outside the city. As long as you're going to let them keep doing the korban tamid, you're not going to be able to take over the city. So tomorrow, so when the people inside the city put money into the basket and put it over the wall, so they put not something for the korban tamid, they put a pig in the basket. When they were lifting the pig up, not Siparnav, so he was not Siparnav Bechoma, as the Hagosabach says. The pig put its Siparnav, its feet, its claws into the walls of Yerushalayim, and his Dazer Yisrael Arba Meos parts, and the whole Eretz Yisrael shook from HaKadosh Baruch Hu being so upset. But again, the whole thing was caused because of the Zaken Echad who used Greek to tell the message over the wall. So Osa Shah Amru, at that time they said, Amr Adam Sheyigadel Chazirim. Cursed is anybody that raises pigs. And anybody who learns and teaches his son Chachma Yivanis because of this Zaken Echad is going to be cursed. And in that year, the Osa Shana that the Beis Hamikdash was destroyed, they learned the following. In that year, so they had to bring the Korban Omer from Gagot Tzrifim, and they had to bring the Shtei Alechem for Shavuos from this place called Bikas Ein Sukar. What's the problem? Says Rashi on the top left. As they were coming to capture Yerushalayim, they destroyed all the fields around Yerushalayim. That last year, they needed to bring us Omer Migagot Tzrifim. They need to bring the Korban Omer, which allowed them to eat the new flour, right? On the second day of Pesach, they would bring the Korban Omer, and then you can eat. That's Chadash and Yashan. They should have brought it from the place closer to Yerushalayim. Why? As Rashi explains, because he wanted it to be lach. He wanted it to still be wet. He still wanted it to be fresh when they brought it to Yerushalayim. If you bring it from far away, it would dry out on the way. So that year, when they already had destroyed many of the fields around Yerushalayim, they couldn't bring it from anywhere around Yerushalayim. They had to bring it from far away. And there, so too, they had to bring the Korban Shtei Alechem for Shavuos from far away from Yerushalayim as well. So the question is it really a problem to teach your son Chachmas Yivanis? V'amar Rabbi, but we know that Rabbi said Eretz Yisrael Lashon Sursi Lama. Why do they teach Eretz Yisrael? Why do they teach Sursi? What should they teach? Ela Lashon Kadosh. O Lashon Yavanis. Rabbi says you should either be teaching them Hebrew or you should be teaching them Lashon Yavanis. You see, clearly he holds it's okay to teach Lashon Yavanis. From Rav Yosef Bevavel Lashon Arami Lama. In Bavel, why do they teach Lashon Arami? El Lashon Kodesh, Lashon Parsi. In Bavel, they should teach Lashon Kodesh or they should teach Parsi. But Lamaisa, we see over here that Rabbi said in Eretz Yisrael you should teach either Hebrew or Yavanis. We just said it's also to teach your son Yavanis. Says the Gemara, no. Lashon Yavanis Lechud v'Chachma Yavanis Lechud. Teaching the Greek language is fine. It doesn't say that he told them with the Greek language the thing. It says that he told them through the Greek Chachma. You can't teach them the Greek Chachma. The Greek Chachma is also to teach. The Greek language is much to teach. The Chachma Sivanis Miasir, is it even also to teach the Greek Chachma? Lamaisa, we see that there are those who taught their kids a Greek Chachma, great people who, Rabbi Yehuda Mashmuel Mishum Rashbag, my Tachtiv Eini Ola Lenafshi, my eyes are ugly in my nefesh Michobanos Iri, Elef Yolim Hayu Beves Abba. Rabbi Yehuda Mashmuel says in the name of Rashbag, my father in my house had 1,000 children. Chamesh Me'al Limdu Torah, Chamesh Me'al Limdu Chachma Yavanis. It happens to be V'lo Nishtar Man Ela Ani Kanu V'Nachai Abba Be'asya. It happens to be that they were all wiped out. But nevertheless, it doesn't sound like it was because of the teaching them of Yavanis. I think somebody mentioned it was because of the Bar Kochva rebellion. That's when they were wiped out. But Lamaisa, we see that they taught these kids Chachma Yavanis. Shani Shabes Rabbi Gamliel de Kroven Lamalchus Havu. They were allowed to learn Chachma Yavanis because they were close to the Malchus. What does that mean? So the Rishon don't say anything. The way that we understood in the first year was Elamaisa, since they were close with the Malchus, they needed to have the Chachma Yavanis in order to be able to have a relationship with the Malchus. And therefore they dafka taught it because they were close to the Malchus, so they were able to learn it so that they can have a nice relationship with the people who would hopefully be nice to the Jews. That's how we understood it.
That would be wrong, not Greek. It was later. Second.
Okay, somebody mentioned Bar Kochva, I don't know.
Second.
That's what they mentioned. Okay. That's what they mentioned in the shir. If it's not right, it's not my fault. I didn't say it. Titania, misaper kumi harizeh midarche harimori. So we see over here, and we see over here just a proof that Rabbi Gamliel's family was close to the Malchus because there was a special type of haircut. This haircut called the kumi style. Next time you go for a haircut, ask for the kumi style. It's when they shave the front of the head and the back of the head they leave. If the guy knows what you're talking about, then run out very quickly. Harizeh midarche hayamori. This is the way of the this is the way of the Amori. Av Tulus ben Reuven hatiru l'saper kumi she'ukarv l'malchus. They let this person to go ahead and have this haircut because again, it's what the Malchus did, and he was karv l'malchus. So based on Gamliel hatiru len chachma Yavanis m'neisha karv l'malchus. We see over here, and based Rabbi Gamliel, they allowed to learn Yavanis chachma Yavanis, not the lashon Yavanis chachma Yavanis, because he was karv l'malchus. Again, seemingly to have them have good relationships with the Malchus. Let's go. Last one. My time of Mishum Sniusa, where at the end of the time where they were capturing Yerushalayim, so they didn't let them go out in a canopy because of Snius. Now, if you read that, you say, what do you mean? The rest of the time they didn't care about Snius? So the way I understood it, again, there's no Rashi, the way I understood it is that they wanted to keep Snius, he wanted to keep things as quiet as possible, especially if the generals wanted to be with all the Kalas before the wedding. That was at the time of Hanukkah. But you don't want to go ahead and show the enemies that you're having big weddings, and again, because of the Kala, or just because in general, we don't want to show that we're happy. So Mishum Snius, I don't think literally means Snius, or else they would never have this. I think Mishum Snius means they want to keep it quiet so that they don't go ahead at the time of the Chorban and make things worse.
You bring it through the street, you don't want to...
Right. So it's interesting, because later they said that it was okay. So the question is, later after the Chorban it was okay? Or later, when things were already hopeless, say it was okay. Maybe it means later after the Chorban, things were okay to again go Ba'apiryon. Zak the Gemara, Mishameis Rabbi Yochanan Badla HaChachma, Tanu Rabbanan, Mishameis Rabbi Eliezer Nigna Sefer Torah. Eliezer was so great that when he died, it was as if they buried a Sefer Torah. Mishameis Rabbi Yeshua Badla Eitzu Machshava. You can give Eitzu Machshava, but not like Rabbi Yoshua. Mishameis Rabbi Akiva Badlu's Roe Torah, the arms of the Torah, Nistatmu Ma'inos HaChachma. There was a certain Ma'inos HaChachma, the springs of Chachma that came from Rabbi Akiva that were gone when he died. Mishameis Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah Badlu Ataros Chachma Sha'ateres Chachamim. Rashi explained that he was very wealthy, besides being very knowledgeable, and there's a certain wealth that was gone, the wealth that was able to hold up the Chachma after he died. There weren't as many Anshe Maisa as there used to be. Abba Yosi ben Ketunta Balu Chasidim, as we mentioned, Lam Nikoshma Abba Yosi ben Ketunta ben Ketunta Shayemikadne Chasidim. Mishameis ben Azai Balu Hashakdanim, who were going by the doors of the base medrash, can't wait to get in. Mishameis ben Zoma Balu Hadarshanim, to be able to dorish the psukim. Mishameis Rashbag Allah Gubai the locust came, which seemingly is the Romans. Virabu tsaros, there were a lot of tsaros. Mishameis Rabbi hochbalu tsaros. When Rabbi died, there were a lot of tsaros. Listen to this. Ends with a cute saying. Mishameis Rabbi bala navav yiras chet. When Rabbi died, so people being very humble, and yiras chet stopped. Amalei Rav Yosef Latana. Rav Yosef said to the Tana, Lo tisnei anava. Don't have the girsa of anava. It can't be that when Rabbi died, so humble people all stopped. De'ika ana, because there's still me, and I'm humble, so it can't be right that humble people. Usually humble people don't say that, but obviously Rav Yosef was clearly humble. He was doing it, as we showed him explain, mitzat kavod Torah, and he says that it can't be that anava was gone with Rabbi. Amalei Rav Nachman Latana. Rav Nachman said, yeah, you think that's good. Lo tidnei yiras chet. Don't say that yiras chet was gone, because l'maisa de'ika ana, I'm somebody that has yiras chet. Hadron alach egla rufa uslik Allah misachas SOTAH.